talk a little bit about what Flexential does here in just a minute, but wanted to give a couple minutes just on the agenda, knowing we've got about 20 minutes today. So today, certainly we focused a lot on DR and disaster recovery use cases. I think Stephen's use cases are that and a little bit different, which I think is exciting, just to keep up with the growth that Primerica has had over the course of the last few years. Primerica is a long-term healthcare provider. He's based in Tampa. I think they're nationwide. Stephen's been a customer with Flexential for the last probably year or so, both our Tampa facility and our Louisville facility. With Flexential, we are a nationwide data center provider. At the end of the day, we build big facilities that do a great job of hosting a bunch of different services, including Stevens. We're in 21 different markets across the United States, Canada, and Europe. And it's a great big footprint that at the end of the day houses data, cloud services, your data, our data, brings that together into a great portfolio. One thing that's unique about us is the network, and our facilities are brought together by a national backbone, almost 15,000 route miles of connectivity between all these facilities, as well as some of the largest POPs in the world. That gives us an ability to give instant-on disaster recovery services and replication between our facilities. So if you're in one, you kind of get access to the other ones if you want that. We also have a great professional services team that can help assist in complex, whether it's DR projects or business continuity projects, but also security, risk, compliance, infrastructure design. We're also certified professionals, as well as a bunch of other certifications. So if you need help, that team can really help bring it all together into a single solution. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stephen. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Good afternoon. I got to do a little bit of walking. I'm a little bit a move around kind of guy. But yeah, the company I work for is called Primerica. We're long-term care, nursing homes, adult living facilities throughout the United States. And we're kind of like an outsourced pharmacy for them, similar to like you have, like a CVS, and that's our market. We've always been a very inquisitive organization. It's not on here. We just merged with, kind of acquired through private equity, a company called Bright Spring Health Services, and they do home health care. It's a great synergy play for us. So we're about 2.5 billion. They're about 2.5 billion, so we'll be 5 billion. We just completed the merger with all the integration activities. But being an acquisition company, one of the biggest challenges we get, a lot of these smaller companies we get, they're large enough to have a data center. They're not huge data centers, but they've got areas of colo all over the place, managed services. Not as much cloud as you see. A lot of cost OpEx concerns in these areas. But you do see a lot of data centers, and we need to move and integrate these people into our facilities and our support models relatively quickly. So, just the right button here. So again, we're nationwide. If you add Bright Spring onto this, I was telling somebody it looks like a Verizon map after that, because they've got, our organization's got about 6,000 employees. We have about 100 locations. They have 60,000 employees and about 15,000 locations. So a lot different. Again, our model is a little bit more brick and mortar than theirs. Theirs is more of your new SD-WAN, local connection type design. So what we had to do, and my account team probably really enjoyed this, is we have a very long contracting cycle in our company. So we knew we had to move our data center, because the data center we were in was actually closing. They said, we're going to turn the power off on the 31st of December 2018. So the whole year, we're talking about it, contract. Finally, we get a contract in August. So we had to move our data center from Marlborough, Massachusetts, down to Louisville, Kentucky, where our corporate headquarters is. Of course, OpEx is huge. We're allowed to buy a lot of things, but we're not allowed to spend a lot of operational costs. So we had to find some models where we could use CapEx to improve and get on newer platforms, but also find ways to show some improvements in OpEx and start migrating to some of that service model, because cloud and all those things are now becoming all OpEx driven. Get some efficiencies, reduce some costs. Again, we got those just from simplifying our platforms, not having 5 storage arrays, had to manage different versions of Blaze and all these different software lines. Compliance, of course, healthcare. And we're trying to move into some type of a cloud model so that we have a little bit more of that operational expense understanding and start converting the company to think that's a lot the way that the market is going. And then have the flexibility, be able to grow, have some expandability, and be able to work with a partner to get things done quickly and easy. So essentially, we had to move 800 VMs from one location to another. And so you need three things to do that: a lot of coffee, Zerto, and a big honking pipe. With a 10 digger, you can do a lot of your 10 gig pipes, so it was pretty amazing. And we did that. We started Flex. We gave them a PO, and somehow they made hardware show up in about 14 to 21 days. And then we started moving things the first week of October. And we got through the holidays and everything, and we turned lights off on that place on the 3rd of January. And I'll say right now, we started out with a few challenges in the beginning. We'd never touched Zerto before that. We leveraged Flex Central to help us, to kind of guide us along the way. We loaded it, we started messing with it, started testing it. Spent about the first 3.5 weeks testing. And we lit that thing up, we turned on every bell and whistle you could on that thing. And it was great, and we were having fun, but we were struggling to make a lot of our conversions. It's because we didn't really understand what we were trying to do from a service level perspective. We just turned everything on, and it really made a lot of our cuts were long. We started failing out of our maintenance windows. So again, working with Zerto, Flex Central, we went back and kind of right-sized what we needed. We didn't have to have reverse replication for everything we were doing. We kind of got some different strategies around our SQL databases. And then we just started, once we got that done, we did a couple of our dev moves, and then we just started flying these things down. We had migrations that had 75 servers in them at a time. We moved probably 280 terabytes, and I said 823 servers. And it was amazing how flexible and how you construct different VPGs, the different service levels that you want, the things that you could do, and the speed you could do them. We did another one last Saturday. I actually came to town early with my wife to enjoy Nashville, and my guys moved one from California in 4 hours on Saturday afternoon. And it just popped up. And we didn't get Zerto start replicating until a week from yesterday. So we couldn't get a data circuit. So just to let you guys know, once you get to handle this stuff, how amazingly quick you can get. Again, you gotta have a big pipe. You get a really good pipe in there, and you can turn these things up. And the nice part of it is if you get your addresses right, you move things over, it's almost like you are essentially moving your entire data center. We didn't have to, like ours, we moved this in sections. We had a lot of firewall rules, and they could do this other small rule. We actually had like picked them up and lifted them virtually. Threw them in our building, we didn't have to really make a lot of changes to them. They were all working. What we've done now is just kind of flip those and just change our targets. So we've got 5 or 6 more acquisitions right now. We're going to consolidate RightSpring into our same data center space with Flex Central this year. So that's another like 780 servers. A little smaller on the storage side, about 180 terabytes. We'll move them this year, but along with we got 4 or 5 of these other ones that are 35 terabytes every year, 20 servers, 50 servers, all lined up in the next few months. And our strategy is just setting these big pipes everywhere, leveraging Zerto and Flex Central to help us get it in the back end. And it's really become almost like a script for us. Really very easy. A couple spreadsheets and learn some discipline, some interdependencies. But it's amazing how quick it, and so now we're doing also is once we get them in our data center, we've got a secondary data center, we're just pointing those targets down there. And we've taken 2 of our tier 1 apps, and since we moved in January and done VR tests, we have another one this week. We do them in sections. I will say that we still have some time in our journey to get to where I can say I'm going to light a new data center. But what we do is we will test applications. So again, there's some cheating in there. We're using some infrastructure, but we're doing another test of tier 1 app this weekend for DR. We'll start it Friday. We'll run through the weekend. We have a host system that do PTFs. Anybody has iSeries, PTFs and host systems. Run over there for the weekend, and on next Tuesday morning we'll bring it back. And Zerto's doing all the open systems on that. So a lot of similar stuff here. Again, working with Flex Central on the DR side of that. We kind of have a joint design with them, but our primary is going to be like what we call co-managed, kind of like a private cloud deal, where we purchase some hardware through them and they help us manage that. In the DR site, we manage all of that. Again, some of that cost, operational cost trade-off that we do. My team manages that. We're doing that, trying to arrive and derive some kind of service levels for our different applications and have a little bit more discipline. For example, my team has struggled with simple things like, hey, how do we do firmware upgrades on our old chassis? Scared to death to push those buttons because we don't know what's going to happen. So it'll take us weeks to go through testing and roll it out there. In the current relationship.
UCS.
Yeah, we were on HP, we did it. We now have it on UCS, right? But what's nice, we've done 3 times since the beginning of the year with Flexential. And my guys don't even have to stay up and really watch anymore. So there's definitely some benefits, and those are some of the things I was trying to get. And again, a lot of it's just fear and just the opportunity. My team doesn't have the opportunity to do that 20 times, 100 times a year. The first time they're doing it, it's the first time they're doing it. They've really struggled with some of those sort of patch testing. We're doing some of that. We have some of those systems over healthcare. I got some 2003 out there. I'm not afraid to say it. We got rid of our XP. I got one NT out there, some of those systems you're afraid to touch. So we leverage this. We disconnect it. We do our patching. We do our testing, and we bring it back online if we need to. We know how we can bring it back up. Or we can fail over to our DR site like we do. We do the updates for our major systems. We'll run down there, bring it up here, make sure it works, and then just flip the notification back to it. So it does add a lot of flexibility for what you're trying to achieve. And I don't want to make it sound too easy, but it definitely clears up a lot of the challenges you used to have with some of the old storage-based replications that were out there. Different storage arrays, you don't have to worry about what those are. It takes a lot of that configuration. Well, I'm on this one over here. No, this one is the same. This one does. It makes this a lot easier.
Stephen, I was going to mention too, we definitely see the co-management use case a lot. I think the key to that is just having a really good RACI to make sure you don't end up shooting each other in the foot, depending whether it's a maintenance schedule or what have you. And I think it helps a lot just to have that. What is everybody doing? When are they doing it? Change management, solid process. But again, it's a growing interest for a lot of our customers is having more access and having more control than they probably have in other product environments.
Yeah, and I'll say we struggled with that, and we still do. I mean, that was part of, we moved everything. We didn't have time to really sit down and say, hey, exactly what you're going to do. And it worked out with Flexential team that they were reasonable in those situations. They gave us access probably above what you would expect in these particular situations, so so my team would feel comfortable and they could troubleshoot issues. And then what we've done is we've backed things off over time. They're still working together. I mean, we still are working with the final design that is, because I actually put different types of workloads on this infrastructure, and some workloads have different service levels. We're looking at kind of right-sizing that this next year. But it was interesting to partner with someone who would say, hey, we don't want you to have that access. We don't think you need that access. But for this period of time, we understand that you're going to need some of that access, and here's the rules. So they may not have given us omniscient God access, but they did give us the access my team needed for them to feel like they could achieve their jobs and they could have that visibility. It's also helped in the troubleshooting, being able to get those, provide both sides with the same visibility when we're working through issues. And then through time, what we've done is just kind of hold the reins back. Also, my team needed a little bit of, they need a little opportunity to see context. They still feel totally responsible for everything. So, they don't want me to come and do it and saying, hey, what happened? I don't know. So they've kind of worked through that and gained some confidence with the team so that they're now more comfortable. And now that people on the other side, on the Flexential side, are partners or part of their team, not as much, hey, that's the service provider opening a ticket, maybe they'll get back to me kind of thing. So, and then we've also haven't lost in many of these deals the vendor relationship. We still have that, and we also have the service provider relationship. So we can leverage both. Sometimes Flexential is a better leverage point to get us what we need. Well, we still have access to the vendors that we're doing things and we'll have questions and things of that nature. I think this one.
Yes, I think just sort of wrapping this up. You guys know Zerto pretty well because you're here at the conference, but I think certainly the ability to not only do DR, replication, continuous data recovery services. I think it's exciting to sort of see the added backup features. We were just in a session here earlier that I think changes the landscape in terms of how customers can use the platform in terms of also just making it more simple. And I think that vision, whether it's Stephen's use cases on being able to simplify his migration, which, how many of you were able to go kill an application or kill a project in the last year? It's really hard to go kill environments. It's hard to kill data centers. you just don't ever usually reduce things, you always gain more things, and I think it's a great testament to using the technology to really help drive that, as well as to solve some other challenges as well. And then certainly security, coming from the compliance background, from a healthcare perspective, Stephen worries about. We just did a little session earlier, and it's one of those things that keeps him up at night, is making sure we're all secure and compliant, and being able to have that as part of the platform. And then, I think the multi-site recovery and replication use cases, and where the market's sort of going in terms of search and having more access to data is really exciting as well, because it opens up new use cases that are still emerging in terms of how we use a lot of the data that we probably had access to in years gone by, but do we know if we need that tomorrow or not? And so sort of putting that all together into a single platform. It's not all technology. I think there's a lot of care and feeding and planning that has to go into this to get it down to a level that is as efficient that Stephen can do it by the pool, with his team, which is pretty cool. But certainly happy to take any questions after this or at the end of the session. We've got a booth out there as well in the hall. So any questions out there?
Well, we did one-to-one, and then we rotated. We changed the target, so we didn't do it at the same time. Part of that was just we were able to manage it. And, I think we were more concerned about landing the first flight. We actually kicked off a separate project after we got everything moved to start setting up our data.
You guys leverage back at all or not?
Not really. The only thing we did, I'd say, in conjunction with Zoto, we did some things with SQL, with clustering. We were concerned on some of the SQL size of our databases to move, so we would use Zoto for some, and then the really large ones we would do cluster to set that up.
Last question that I have is for your normal DR. Where do you keep your journals at? How long?
I think it's 40 now.
You keep those on primary storage or secondary tier that you use for journals?
It's primary. It's primary.
And what backends UCS?
We use the UCS in our primary with NetApp, and in our DR we're using HPs. We have an all data center, and we have Entry IO.
Campus primary, Louisville's
The other way around.
the other way around.
Yeah, and then we're going to be moving towards with the bringing on of Bright Springs. We're going to increase some of our UCS with the NetApp. We're most likely going to buy some more UCS, and then we have some Puro from that acquisition that we're using. So we'd like to buy and try to standardize, but at the same time, if we got anything that's got a good life cycle on still, we're going to sweat assets in healthcare.
Pure curiosity, you guys are concerned at all about having your DR site or anything like that?
No. Two reasons. One, where this facility is. It's 20 miles in, near the highway, high ground. It's that one's fine. And I think if I would try to put my primary down that, I think I'd have a lot more people concerned about that. But since it's the DR site,
If anybody wants to talk about Florida data center, Cheryl is here and runs that part of our group. She's very familiar with the challenges, but also the how we've been able to sort of protect our customers from that.
Yes. When we did those last two, we did new addressing. Now, on the smaller one, we brought some of the addressing over because it was an overlap and that was easier. And we were turning that one off. The big move, we had to leave it because we were moving in sections. So I really had to build, we went into those spreadsheets easy. We actually just took another network and just used all the same host address, the same architecture, just mess with network. So we're 172. We were 25 over here. We went 26 over here.
So it's all private cloud too, right?
Well, we call it private cloud because what I would say is probably more close to a kind of co-managed infrastructure because we haven't really rolled it out to where letting people do their own provisioning. So we're still managing a little bit like the infrastructure. We're managing it with them. So we have access to the hypervisor and things like that. We don't necessarily have access to storage.
Right.
So we can see things in storage, but we'll just order, hey, we need a new, we need this stack of storage. They'll give it to us and we'll provision it. So we're still working through that whole responsibility part, patching, things like that.
So it's the old IFS model of private private cloud?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically dedicated infrastructure with storage.
Yeah, and to give you,
User access.
yeah, to give you a sense of kind of what my goals were, I was trying to get my team to not have to worry about some of these disciplinary items they can't get to, because they're stuck in acquisitions, they're dealing with outages, and one moment they're being able to say, how come we're N+3 on our firmware, right? The security patch comes out, and they're like, well, we can't get to it. So I was trying to get some of those, take some of that stuff off of their plate. When we went down the managed service model, it really changed the OpEx model. So by going with this, we actually purchased an asset, did a capital lease with it.
Yeah.
So it's a little different. So we flipped the accounting on it, but we're getting the same thing. So there are some services on top of it, but we were able to kind of change that equation from an accounting perspective. So that really was the driver. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Did you use Zergo for the initial seeding to
Yes.
do DNPK?
Yes, sir. Yes.
You didn't do any of that physically, it was all in the network.
Correct.
With the exception of the database servers?
Yes, on some of the database servers, we use some of those we use some SQL applications, some of those we did some backups, some we set those up. And then we moved quite a few as Zerto. There were just some very large ones that we were concerned about. And we did some testing with them, and we got, I'd say we had some mixed results in some of those. And I think part of that is some of our naivety on how to do Zerto with some of those large databases we move in for these, we move in, 150 gigs and things like that. Just that time it takes and what SQL sees when it comes back up gets a little weird. So we mitigated that with the customers. But we're still working. The one we did this weekend, we tried it with Zerto, ran into some issues. We set clustering up, we mitigated some clustering, we were back on. Did a restore from backup and then boom. So.
Thanks, Nick.
Believe it or not, I mean, other than, and now I just want to set the, we're not Chase Bank, okay? I mean, my guys are wearing 20 hats, and they're all guys that run through the wall for you. They grew up, and there were some bumps in a couple areas. We managed this project with the perspective of what couldn't fail. So we took everything that could move during the day, we moved it during the day, and then we took probably about, those are probably 12 to 15 overnight you can't fail. We probably had 5 of those or 6 of those we couldn't miss. And we dumped all of our effort into that. We had really good plans for those, we had really good cut sheets for those. And we got some extra networking help, we got crazy and we did those. And I think those were the ones that really helped us. And then there was some noise. I mean, there was some people that came up and they couldn't get to their SIFs the next morning. Some of that stuff happened. But on a one like this, I'd say you just got to figure out where, like anything else, when you move your house, some stuff you move in your car, some stuff you move in a special car, and something the guy movers do it. We took that same approach.
All right, well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Stephen, thanks.